So we've done with the tarot cards. You were given 21 perverted cards, and you were told that this is a complete tool. Do you believe that? What about all 33 pleasures, as they say? Have you ever heard of such an expression? In the real old face of RUS, 33 icons together with L-Spicer and 33 images of pleasure are the proof of this. In Hinduism, the Rig Veda has to be Rag Veda, Ra, Vedana, from above. Along with 33 of its deities are also distorted icons of RUS. Learn and see for yourself. As for me, I have no interest in digging into lies. Let's check the Georgian translation of the word order. In order not to get lost, I will continue to number the icons and tell you that the card number does not carry any sacredness. The icon number is not important in any case. You need to know astrophysics, and now the most important thing. 33 is a real RUS primer. Do you remember your ABC book where the letters corresponded to the images drawn next to each other? So, this tradition came from the ancient teachings of RUS. Each icon is an image of a letter, an image of a deed. All these Rig Vedas came from the science of the language of the words Yan, In. I already wrote about the letters of Usta Kanon, which are divided into male and female and a few general. Icons are also divided like this. Read about the deis's rank of the iconostasis. These are the perverted concepts of the separated Yan, In letters. The icons listed above carry the image of the presented letter with the first letter in the correct name. Write them down according to the Usta Kanon alphabet in 2 ranks and try to read them in different directions. The Slavs with their bluffy letters are nothing compared to it. It's just a laugh. The First Reich didn't even exist. Everything was invented by the Second Reich, and an idea can't live long. Sooner or later there would be an exposure. The following icon images are almost never used by the Christians of the modern faith. This indicates a conspiracy of the authors of Tarot with the Masons, destroyers of RUS. I will continue presenting you the images in the first letter. If you want to know about heresy, Maxi or Yerisandra, I have already told you about it. Let it be the 22nd card, by the way. Instead of the vainly inserted 12th suspended tarot card, we substitute the supposedly zero card of L-Spicer. V.Uni, 23rd image, sorceress, Vedunya, separated concepts of faith, love, hope. In charge of 3 virtues, 3 Russian female names, the icon was also repainted and confused with another icon of Wednesday. Either Jesus or their physical mother is made out of the Christ-bearing Sophia. In the Old Believer's icon, faith, hope, love, there is no Christ-bearing, no Isush. There's just Ved-Uni. Shania of the soul, 24th image. Shania of the soul is pure self, repeated radiance. As I already told you too, they mostly paint over the star in the face. The soul is pure as a bride. It stands taller than the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head there's a royal crown. Remember, the king is Tsar, Port, mistress, or herself. Couple Peter and Paul, and Andreas of Andrew. 25th image of Peter and Paul and Andreas Rias. Peter keeps the court's lock. Pavel burns the orders of Andrew to shoot in the night. 2 yards also have a par. A whole chapter has been written about the officials of the Peter and Paul fortress stars. The Apostle Paul holds in his hands the keys to the ships that were chained up in dry berths. The icon tells you to close and open the navigation. That is it. On the icon there is the evidence that there was not written M, S, H-S, not E-S, H-S. Here's where M is written, as I feet was E, Malxi. Thus the heresy was destroyed. Chrestomantia is the 26th image that carries the culture of removing darkness in Kula Ra, the conclusion from ignorance in Kula Ra. This is about the icon learning is light, the ignorance is darkness. This icon suited the Christians, and turning the darkness into a non-existent hell, they began to frighten people with the hell. Only here Andres' crest or cross brings all the same from the ignorance of darkness to the culture. It carries the truth. That is how it is depicted. Only it does not carry what it is, but the truth. Inside, behind your back, brings the message that you are uncultured, so you do not know how to walk with Kula Ra. Next to the image of culture and stars with the characteristic caps with bubons and followers of knowledge, Kula Ra draws people out of the darkness to his school. At will, of course, he will not be forced to be nice, as they say in Russia. And how much Russian folklore is contained in these images? The reverse side of the icon is a blank in the subfloor. Div Divni is the 27th image. Div Divni, or wanderers. Div is a pseudo-god or pseudo-slaves. Just an image of a diva. The whole world is happy to see the sun. People and animals are wonderful. The world is beautiful, or krasivi in Russia, which is Ra means God. I found an unmarked icon with a pitchfork and more, but this is the highlight at the end. The icon had been many times covered up and called with different names like Praise the Lord, Coronation of the Virgin, Ecumenical Council. As always, Christians smeared the face of Jesus, and in their own ways. Remember the holiday of good news and the proverb, things go worse than the slowest horse. When the ground warms up, you can plow. This is the same joy of this icon. Bo essence, 28th image. Bo essence stands for the change or incumbrance, good birth or good destruction. I searched for this icon for a very long time, but I found it. The Christians smeared it all over, and there is no original icon left. It's very hard and it's very desperating to throw your own culture in the trash can, and all for the sake of greed for power and money. Called it unsleeping eye, nedremonoye oko in Russia, and it covered up everything that was important. We are talking about the burden of pregnancy, and not only that. On the icon lies a future woman in labor, and she's waiting for the news from the dove angrist through the motherland, but in the way of a dove read news monthly. One angel pulls the rope out of the thoughts of a woman in labor, the second then gives, then takes the loop, a very tragic icon. So, having erased unprofitable details, they turned up the icon into a void. Life spinning mi Ra, the 29th image. Life spinning mi Ra. Spinning or pradenia. The Christians smeared this icon with Catherine the Great, smearing the thread of life in their own spinning wheelboard. Remember when I wrote about mowers and parks? On the icon, the image of fate spins the thread of life, and the raven wants to break the thread. Life and destiny are the essence of Bo. Here you will find the wheel of the spinning wheel of samsara and the armillary sphere, as well as the cards. Cards? Yes, cards still can be found on many icons in their outfits, many where there are ordinary suits for cards. Wait, this isn't the highlight yet. M. More, hunger aunt, the 30th image. M. More, hunger aunt. M, More or Sea. The Christians called it Mary of Egypt, relevant to both famine and pestilence. Remember the saying, work is not a wolf, it will not run away into the forest, as they say in Russia. Tomorrow is the day in which idle men work. So this is saying words right like this. Hunger is not an ant, it will not run away to the forest. All infected people went to the forest, respectively, they ate poorly. I had to curb my appetite, so I got medication. Everything is reflected on the icon of the old believers. Road, RUS, 31st image, the old RUS, Ro Odin, RUS, motherland, Poravilloslavnaya, RUS, RUS Orthodox. I have written a lot about this in my book. Christians called the icon on the rivers of Babylon. Who are these Christians who turned our past into history? I told you about Barbarossa, who invented sanctity and consequently the Holy Empire. This is the Second Reich. Remember, the correct for Christianity is Christianity. The icon conventionally, figuratively shows the Neva on the left, the Volga on the right, and the outgoing Dnieper in the center, which flowed into the Black Sea. St. Peter on the icon, so it was necessary to call it Babylon. This icon doesn't show the mouth of the Neva River, but in fact there are many icons that speak of the existence of St. Petersburg, which is depicted just at the mouth of the Neva River from the side of Bolsha Izhora. I told them, and I showed them, do not confuse Ust Izhora and Bolsha Izhora. The icon shows three officials in each city wearing stargazing caps. That is the priest, Peter and Paul. You know who they are and why they did that. A serious privateer school was organized in Russia, and even this is not a highlight, although there is plenty of information for you to be shocked. Tsatsatsare calling, 32nd image, Tsatsatsare calling for service. I was jumping above my ears when I found this icon. This is not the calling of the apostles, but a calling to the service of all peoples on the way, for example, from the Varangians to Greeks. Remember that the path was in a circle down the Dnieper and up to the Gulf Stream. This icon shows the accompanying parents, the motherland and the fatherland, and the calling apostles, Peter and Paul. Swell dressy, colored Tsarski's rank on the shoulder straps and put on airs, and finally, here's the highlight. What do we see at the top of the icon that I found? 5 angels. Among them, the chief angel is Archangel. Look at the ends of their casques, spears, clubs, spades, hearts, priest with cresto, kulo, ra, and tambourines. I deliberately did not change this icon except for the color of the balls. On the icon there was only the rightmost one with the red ball. Remember how the compass means north red diamonds. Remember the Wumi, old men only go to battle, where diamonds for a sweet soul burn. Remember what I told you about the migration of the Germans from the north. That is right. The suit is independent of race and of the fatherland. On the iconostasis there are 4 fatherlands. Everything as my grandfather wrote it. There are such icons, they exist. My grandfather's only colored balls were written: clubs, blue, spades, green, hearts, or crimson. I made a decision for the priest myself and made a white filter. And here you are, tarologist. Your cups, wands, pentacles, and swords, it's all complete nonsense. It's an invention of breeds and perverts. You were replaced with the tool while throwing out a third of the cards. Now remember how I described the original territory of Rus at the beginning of my book. What and by whom was Russia separated? Cherva, Chervonaya Rus, Crimson Rus. Tartary as a territory, green peaks. Pyrenees, Caucasus Mountains, blue clubs. Murmansk North, Germans with tambourines, lovers of fighting with the diamond peak. Everything becomes clear. In addition to this icon, I found a similar icon in the meaning where Paul and Peter with navigation call a priest to service in the spring. Judiv part of the year is over, the beginning of Demetrius is up. The icon of all seamen of marine knowledge, all current naval. The mandate of Christo Ying Unity, 33rd, image to the end. The mandate of Christo Young Unity to the fatherland and the motherland. The Christian name is the New Testament Trinity. They got it wrong here, the Second Reich. The New Testament is like the Old one and is not the same. And this is the Old Believer's icon depicted Christian, Christine, the fatherland and the motherland. Christian gave the fatherland tutorial of astrophysical science. Christo in as their homeland in their hands, holding the dove as the symbol of birth and of the world, or peace. The eye of the telescope on the icon with stars and four cues with suits here. Very often, on many icons, they draw a grave cross and two cues on the edges are erased. There are spades here, allegedly a spear, and worms, allegedly a sponge for blotting the forehead of the crucified. Remember your mandate, Christianings, restore your honor. Now let's talk about the waltzes, queens, kings, and aces. Many of you know such a card game as Thousand. When you play a queen or a king, you say mother or respectively stepfather. That's what the cards are called. Jack is correctly called ensign. The Inquisition turned all the jacks or ensigns into prophets. I deciphered ensigns and lieutenants at the beginning of my book, as well as many other things. Finally, Tuzara is on the coffin of the Second Reich. Christianity and its First Reich, the Slavs. Do you think there is no such icon? There is, and is called in Christianity, the work of the Holy Family. Aces used to be labor, and it has been corrected. This is quite fine, okay. The icon shows the father sewing with the bow saw on a trestle in the form of a letter A. The mother is spinning a spindle, and the boy working with the chisel. Family, so to speak, again, the monastery compound. Almost everything is correct here. I didn't find any old icons, the correct ones, but I will tell you what was written in my grandfather's notebook. Father sews on a special carpenter's table, which is called a stuslo with a bow saw. Read what a stuslo and onion saw are. A mitre box and even more precisely tuzla. Do you remember the goats? This is a finer tool knot than the sawhorses, but similar in its essence. And more, there is a tool assembly in the saw itself. They produce tension of the back saw blade. They inserted rail in the belt that was twisted, stretched, and passed the tension to the canvas through the levers. The rail is fixed on the spacer of the saw. What am I saying? Tuzlo is the creation by a knot, and a knot is called not only a rope, but a whole instrumental knot, a creative knot. Ace. The letter A is also present on this icon. But this is a tool for the earth, which stands on the ground. I wrote about Ha-Aaron's hectare, leaning on the box of Tuzla. That is why we see the letter A on the ace. This Tuzlo, chisel, and thread notes are also present in both the mother and the boy. As you have already understood, the icon is called Tuzla. This card is called ace, but not ace and twos. All this is the end of the Masons, and their fictional language is based on the knowledge of icons of RUS. The ace is called with the first letter of the alphabet, A. They do not know more, our knowledge is primary, and A is just one of the notes of icons. But, as it turned out, the key to the unraveling the knot, yoke your own necks. What have you heard officially about the Gordian knot? In a figurative sense, the expression Gordian knot means any tangled tangle of circumstances. According to the ancient legend, when the kingdom of Phrygia was left without a ruler, the Phrygians turned to the oracle for advice to whom to choose as the king. The oracle foretold that they should choose the first person they met riding in a cart on their way to the temple of Zeus. This man turned out to be a simple landowner, Gordius. After becoming the king of the Phrygia, he founded the capital, giving it his name, and in the citadel of the city he installed his cart, thanks to which he came to power, entangling the yoke of his cart with the complex knot of a dog bust. According to the legend, it was believed that the person who could unravel this Gordian knot would become the ruler of the whole world. Alexander the Great cut the knot with a single blow. The priest interpreted this way: he would conquer the world, but with the sword, not with diplomacy. However, according to the story of Aristobulus, Alexander easily managed to solve the problem and release the yoke from the front end of the drawbar hook, the so-called haster, which is attached to the jugular belt. Well, this is not a figurative meaning, figurative expression. This is a big, huge knot that Masons laid under their death, neutralized with a sword and wielded with the past. So it's like they had forgotten about it. Here's the strap on the beam saw and called a running belt, from the Russian word yermo, that means ride. The rake is called jester, simple farmer Gordius. This is a guard. The guard means limiter. The tied card are you and me. The key word is Gordius the farmer, the landowner. Hectare, he wrote. It is the farmer who had such a tool, for measuring the land, the same tool on the icon tusle, ace. The great Russian folklore is so curious. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, but as they say in Russia, don't go to someone else's monastery with your own charter. Put someone right in the card. Bring them under the monastery in Russian. Trump ace. So they brought Freemasonry under the monastery. Tuzla put them on the coffin. The most difficult riddle of the mankind is solved. The Gordian knot is unraveled. What is the legend? Have we regained our world again? Are we the masters of our own world now? There is no power over us anymore. About the suits of cards, respectively, people can say that they are indicated by berries and other plants that were used to make ale in this area. Keep in mind the regression hypnosis method. Hearts stand for the blueberries, cranberries, and needles, cherries, petiolets. Diamonds stand for the bubble, cranberries, bublinka, obsolete, bobolis, and much older. The pattern on these tambourines, when stretched, is just in the face of the non-man-made yanity. Winnie is the cross, incorrect mangled name, standing for the grapes. The letter Winnie on the Georgian language. The second name is clubs from 3 Pharisee. I wrote about Pharis as a feed. And further earlier, Pika, Winnie does not belong to Pika, are hops, beer, kazan, Pika. So it is something apparent, not real. Example is in the beer Pikur in the Kursk city in Russia. The expression is drunk in a rush, on a rush. This is about strong intoxication. The shape of an ancient airplane and the cup. The old believers' astrophysical faith has been restored now. Download this video with no exception and place a new video on your pages and website. Copy this video to all the resources you have. I repeat, distribute my videos in addition to as a link and you download. I now address to all the bloggers, upload this video to your channels and groups, to all your resources. There is no time for strife, greed, or personal ambition. Every man of honor must do this. The real faith had been restored according to my grandfather's description. Contact us. I ordered a small patch. The tool includes a wooden tarantas, 109 images of icon cards. Why 109 is already explained in the next movie. The feed and the book with detailed description of the cards in the light of the prediction. Bring the light and multiply the intelligence and knowledge. May all the good come to your family.